Workforce sooner, but they're controversial. Rick Clark is with the Nova Scotia Federation of Labour here to talk to us about this. I know you're particularly concerned about this component of the changes where workers would have to go to find another job even if it's 30% less pay than they normally would get.
It causes a problem both for the worker and for the employer because like in the industry I come out of with the shipbuilding, ship repair, they tender on work based on available workforce. And those workers move on elsewhere, then they're not available to them. But equally, and when you're looking at young workers, if they're laid off and have to go someplace for 30% less, the big fear that we're hearing back from some employers right now is that they may go out west because they'll earn 30% more or higher. And once they go out west for the big dollars, they may not come back at all.
Those are some of the more skilled workers, I guess. Well, what about workers who might just stay home and collect EI? Maybe they would make 40% less. Well, wouldn't it make more sense for them to go and find a job even if they're making 30% less?
Well, there's some of the problem that we're having with this whole thing, with this whole piece of legislation, is that you're absolutely right. But there's very, very few workers that will just stay home. That's a big fallacy out there. Workers that aren't necessarily have the skills for some of the openings that are available. There's not a huge amount of jobs available. I think it's 5.3 unemployed workers for every job that's available. So it's not that there's a job for every worker to go to. The federal government used to provide some funding towards with the provincial governments for training and retraining workers for skills for some of these job openings. They canceled that program, and under this bill that's modifying the EI is their polite term for it. There's nothing there to train or enhance the skills for these workers to be readily available to take on other jobs.
There are working people right now who travel an hour to get to work. Maybe not so much in Nova Scotia, but lots of parts of the country they do. Why is there so much opposition to that idea applying to EI when you're on EI to go out and get a job an hour away?
I think it's only part of the opposition because it's like, I guess tongue-in-cheek, I traveled almost an hour this morning with the traffic because of the weather. But it's not that people are averse to traveling. It's like I may leave a job if I get laid off here and go down to work for a small employer, we'll say down the valley. My job opens up again, I'm going to leave. So it's no stability. I'm going to go back to my other job at the 30% higher rate. And that's going to mean there's no stability for employers. They're not going to be able to depend on me to be working for them for a week or a month or whatever, because as soon as my job opens, I'm going back. It's not that we're adverse to it. This whole premise of that the federal government come up with the changes is that people will abuse the system.
There's no abuse in the system?
Well, if there is, why do you penalize everybody? That's the question we have on it. Why do you put something in that we're hearing from employers and we're hearing from workers that is going to create problems for respective workplaces and really not help the economy?
I think we're going to be talking about this again in the near future, aren't we?
I think so, because I honestly believe that once this plays out, we're going to hear a big hue and cry from employers and from workers about why it's not working.
Rick Clark, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
And now.